Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Mike. Hope you're doing great and having a wonderful day. So today I'm going to do my response video. About a week and a half ago, I did a Q&A when I reached my 200 subscribers, which is still crazy and amazing to me. So thank you everyone for subscribing. But I put out in that video, if anyone had any questions, book related or not, throw them in the description, and then I would make a video responding to those questions. I did get a few, not a lot, and I knew that because I'm not a big channel. Sorry, my phone's going off. I keep looking at my messages. So the first one here is by Austin over at Eternal Reading, and I'll link all of these people and their channels in the description as well. And I would highly suggest you go check out all of these different channels. They're all amazing, doing a great job. They have great content. They're nice and funny and just all around good people. So first one is by Austin. He gave me one question. It says, if I could sit with 3 authors, dead or alive, around a table for one night with beers, who would it be? Well, it took me a little bit to think of this, but the first one would be Walt Whitman, because you can't tell me that this guy right here wouldn't have some stories to tell you. I would just like to pick his brain, because one, he's my favorite poet. I've showed this many times. He's my favorite poet, and I've read 2 biographies of his. I would just like to sit down and just talk with him. Now, I'm just going to assume, because we're hypothetical here, sitting around having a few drinks with some people. We're all kind of loose. We're just sharing. We're open, having a good time. And because that goes into my second person. And for my fans of Moby Dick, do not ostracize me from the community. Don't kick me out of the community for this. Second one would be Herman Melville. And the reason I thought of this, and I laughed, of course, when I did it, but my first question would be like, what the heck were you thinking writing Moby Dick? I'm joking, of course, but I think Herman Melville, because I think if I could get his take and his perspective and idea of why he wrote Moby Dick the way he wrote it. And the only reason I'm kind of stuck on that is because that's the only book ever that I've ever read where I literally had to force myself to finish it. Well, I had to force myself to get through all the jargon and, the factual whaling stuff. I had to force myself. I mean, I've read books before where it was just okay, it's not that good, but I could still follow the story and move on. But for some reason, and maybe because I'm now, I'm making videos and I've met other people, and I'm kind of getting out there in my reach a little bit, talking to more people that love the book. I did not love the book. So, Walt Whitman, Herman Melville. And my last one, this one, it took me a while to think of, but I would go with Paul, the Apostle Paul, because he wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, roughly. And just historical, and just imagine all the things that he would have seen in his life. If you don't know anything about him, look him up. I would highly suggest it. Paul, he persecuted the Christians, killed Christians, had decrees made, and then of course his flip to following Jesus. So I think Paul, that would be a crazy little conversation to have with those 3 people. Next person is Derek at Derek Green. His first question was, are there any genres that I haven't read but want to read? And I had to think long and hard on this. So if you just do a quick internet search, there's 2 kind of opposing answers to this. If you just look up how many genres are out there, the first one you get is 35 major, quote, major genres. The other one, you could, between 40 and something. So I'm just going to stick with the idea and the thought of there's 35 major genres. That's not including subgenres. So I think I've pretty much read about everyone because I looked them all up and, I've read about, I think, pretty much every genre that's out there in some capacity, whether that was mixed in, I'm reading, I don't know, historical fiction and they throw in a few more genres or something. But I think I've pretty much dabbled in all of them. Which that leads me to the second question Derek had was, if you wrote a book, what would it be about? So, little spoiler, I have written a book. It's a small poetry book. It's not big. That's not technically a novel, it's just poetry. But if I were to write a book, again, hypothetical here, we're just thinking outside the box, having fun with this. I would have picked 11 of the 18 genres that I read on a normal day, and I would write a trilogy. The first book would have 4 genres mixed together. The second would have 4, and then the third of the trilogy would have 3. And then the third one, about halfway or 3/4 of the way through, would somehow, again, I'm just making this up, mix all of those together to come into an ending. That's my answer on that. The next one is from Joshua Crebo. My cat's hitting my tripod. That's Gracie. She'll jump up on the bed in a minute. You'll see her. First question Joshua had was, how did I initially get into reading? So when I was about, and I can't remember the exact year, but I think I was about 22, maybe 21, 22. Picture it. We've all been to the doctor's office. You walk in, you got a waiting room, people sitting behind desks, and it's I worked in a laboratory at the time. So you walk in the building, and it's like a 7-story building, 8-story building. First floor is kind of like the check-in area, and the lab's in the back. So you go in, you sit down, you're in the waiting room, you wait, get called up, you checking in, doing your paperwork before you go get your blood drawn. Well, at the time, it was on a Friday, I believe, and it was like 6 o'clock in the evening, and it just happened to be my turn to be out at the register, so I'm at the register. And it's Friday night. Everybody closes in that building that I worked in, at noon, 1 o'clock, because it's Friday. A lot of the doctor's offices. So we're slow, we're dead. And down by our little check-in area, we had a little lost and found. It was just a drawer that was in one of our desks. People leave stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm digging through it because I'm bored as crap because there's no patients coming through. We're pretty much just sitting there wasting the clock, waiting to clock out. I found this book. It's probably backwards, but Dean Koontz, From the Corner of His Eye. Exactly like this. No dust jacket. It's got a stain on it where someone had some cups. So I just picked it up and I started reading it. First book that I ever read, front to back. And actually, I've still got some notes in here from. So I read this, and I pretty much flew through this. And it was amazing. So that kind of goes to the second question that Joshua had. How long ago did your interest in reading form? Well, 15 years ago. 15 or 16 years ago, when I was 21, 22. And it was all because of this book right here. This book here, if you never read it, this has got multiple genres mashed together. And I had never experienced that. I never was open to that. So when I read it, it was just mine to me. And this is nothing, it's probably not a 5-star, but to me, it blew my mind wide open to the world of reading and to different ideas. So that's how I got started reading, and that's how long ago it was. The next person was Patrick over at Patrick's Book Reviews. He had 3 questions for me. First question is, if you could have any other booktuber's personal library, whose would you choose and why? So I've got 2 answers for this. It's going to be Andrew and Saracen. Andrew, you could be reading more, and Saracen salutes. I'd mix both of those. Saracen mainly reads nonfiction history, which I've gotten into recently, and I've been really enjoying that. Andrew is like myself. He reads a lot of different genres. I mean, he has his favorites, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, romance is his favorite. Georgette Heyer is his favorite author, or at least one of his favorites. But both of them, they have massive libraries, you know, hundreds and hundreds of books, and it's a good mix. So I'm cheating, but I would take both of them, mix those together. That would be just awesome, because both of those guys read very widely and a lot. So number 2 for Patrick is there a book you don't own that you really want to have? Yes, and this is going to be a dream forever, because I'll probably never get this book. So again, I mentioned Walt Whitman is my favorite poet. I would want to get an original first edition, 1882, of what's called the author's edition. Walt Whitman had select few of these made for his close friends in his life, and he signed them. I've found one at a rare book dealer before, and at the time, you're looking at roughly, and I know prices change, but about $11,000. Unfathomable to me. I'm not paying $11,000 unless, I don't know, I won the lottery, which I don't gamble, but hypothetically, you know, or something like that. There's no way I could justify spending $11,000 on one book, but if I could, that would be the book. And then the third question from Patrick is, do you have one book in your library that you especially cherish? Yes, I have more than one, but if I had to take all my books, just fiction, we'll just say, nonfiction and fiction mixed together, I'm gonna go back to this, because probably, and I don't know, but probably without this book, I would have not become a reader. You know, who knows? We don't know, but this is what started it all for me. This book right here. I have a safe in my room, a little safe. I keep this in that safe, you know, so. All right, we've got a couple more people here. Next one is Andrew. You could be reading more. He had a question, and this question I've seen floated around. It's been years. It's an old question, and I think it's just kind of a break the ice question, you know, but it's old. It's been floating around for a long time. It says, what is your favorite sandwich or foods if you don't like sandwiches? Well, it depends. Are we talking, there's a truck going down the road, but if we're talking about Subway sandwiches, meatball, all the way, all day meatball. If it's just like at home, just a plain turkey and cheese or bologna and cheese, you know. But favorite foods other than that, my wife's homemade fried chicken breasts, no bone in, make them like chicken strips. Oh, amazing. Or her homemade pot pie. Awesome. The next one is Saracen. It's Saracen Salutes. He had 2 questions. First one is, have I ever traveled outside the U.S.? Unfortunately, no, I have not. We will one day, but it's one of those bucket lists, you know, and life happens, and, you know, it's just stuff. So, no, I haven't, but one day we will, for sure. We will. And the second question is, which country other than your own is your favorite? Well, this is just me, you know, looking at pictures and stuff of other countries, because I've never traveled out or abroad. I'm going to give 2 answers for this. One is England, because I've always been really fascinated and interested with the architecture in England and just that old history. And I know there's other countries, but to me, it's always drawn me in was England. And then the second one is Ireland, and also thanks to Austin for showing that beautiful country of Ireland, because of the landscape and the shore and the shorelines, and it's just beautiful there in Ireland. So kudos to Austin, because if you haven't seen his one of his most recent videos. He was just walking his dog, and he was showing videos and pictures of, and it's beautiful. Oh, it's just beautiful there. And then the last person is Matthew. Matthew reads American Lit. He gave me two. One, I've been waiting for someone to ask this. What is the stuffed animal behind you? I think he said a bison. It is not a bison, Matthew. That is a Highland cow. I got that for my wife for Christmas from my work. I work in retail. I work in a pretty big store, but I bought that for her because she loves Highland cows. Who doesn't? They're cute, you know, and we don't have a lot here in America. Yeah, we have them. Fun fact, I do have bisons. It's not 2 miles from my house. There's a farm over here that's got bisons, pretty big herd. I don't know what a group of bisons are called, but a big herd of bison. That is a Highland cow. I don't have a name for it. It's just cow. And then also the second question of Matthew, it was the same one that Patrick asked about, or excuse me, that Austin asked about the 3 authors. So I won't answer that twice, but I hope you enjoy this video. I'm gonna make a couple more videos today because it's my day off, so I'm trying to cram them in because it's gonna be a busy rest of the week. But thank you again for everyone that subscribed, that comments, that likes and hearts my stuff. I really do appreciate it very, very much. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.